Hi, 7th graders. Mr. Berardo again, here to talk to you and continue on with our stuff. We should be finishing off with the antebellum period and the immediate early stages of the American Civil War by next week. And then we'll start talking about the American Civil War by next week. The Civil War is going to be long. There's a lot of stuff in the Civil War that you really have to do. But right now we're talking about the causes of the Civil War. Another cause of the Civil War was the Kansas-Nebraska Act. There's a couple of things that go on with this. The Nebraska territory is pretty large. It's going to be divided into two different territories, Kansas and Nebraska. The big deal with this is there's something called popular sovereignty. It's basically going to say whether these states, it's kind of going to split up, but the people are going to get to decide. So when we say popular, it means basically what the people are going to do. People want to do what is popular, what is right, or what they think is right. And a sovereign, all right, that word right there, the sovereign, that is how it's ruling. Sovereign is a ruler. Really what this is going to say, how do the people want to govern their territories? How do people want to govern their future states? The problem is Kansas is below that line that we just got done talking about in the Missouri Compromise. And if they want to become a slave state, it's going to be an issue. Well, guess what? They want to become a slave state. Not necessarily through all by themselves. There's going to be a whole complicated thing. I have a couple of videos that I'm going to try and show you, and I'll talk about the videos before we're done with this. After I get done with Dred Scott, I'll talk to you about the videos a little bit more. Okay? Essentially, Kansas was going to have a vote on whether they were going to be slave or not. And when this is about to happen, this vote's about to happen, people sneak over from Missouri and they vote that they want it to be a slave state, and it becomes this whole big issue. People that are from Missouri that wanted slaves are going to beat up people, they're going to shoot people, they're going to kill people, they're going to intimidate people if they are from the North and they are trying to say that they don't want to be, they are anti-slavery. So this is going to be a big issue. There's a couple of videos, like I said, that I'm going to show you that are going to be on there. Hopefully these videos will work. Hopefully, the last few, I don't know why I've done the same thing every single time. But Edpuzzle is not really accepting it's not letting you play, but I did a different thing than Edpuzzle this time. So again, we're going to see people sneaking off, more or less. There is in Lawrence, Kansas, and right in Kansas City, because there's two Kansas cities, I know, believe it or not. There's Kansas City, Missouri, Kansas City, Kansas. Go figure. But people are going to sneak across from Missouri into Kansas, and especially in Lawrence, there's going to be a lot of issues, a lot of beating people up, a lot of intimidation. Matter of fact, there's going to be a bunch of days of violence. And it's going to be reported on. It's going to be a bad thing for a lot of people. But like I said, pro-slavery forces are going to fight anti-slavery forces. About 200 people are killed. They're not going to recognize each other's governments. It's going to be a nightmare. But it is the reason why we talk about it is it's a precursor. It's a beginning to show people that, hey, we're willing to fight over this issue of slavery. On either side, one side or the other, we're willing to fight over this issue of slavery. But Bleeding Kansas is going to be a big deal, okay? And like I said, I'm going to show you a couple of different videos. There's another thing, John Brown, in there. I usually don't get into it too much because we're pressed for time. But there's a couple of videos I put in there, and John Brown's mentioned in there as well. He's going to be one of those people who's an abolitionist, going to fight for the freedom of slaves, okay? This is Dred Scott. Okay. I know it's kind of small. Hopefully my daughter will zoom in on that a little bit more so we can see it.
I'm already zoomed in.
She's already zooming in, okay. Anyway, this is Dred Scott. He's a slave that moved around with his owner for a bunch of different times. His owner did business in a lot of different places, but he moved into Illinois where there is no slavery, or there was no slavery, and then he moves back to Missouri where his owner dies. Now, Dred Scott really doesn't have any money, doesn't really have anything, and there's going to be abolitionist forces. People are going to help him out. These abolitionists are basically going to say, we're going to pay for it. We want you to sue to get your freedom. And he kind of gets defeated along the way, but it finally makes it up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court has to make a ruling on whether Dred Scott should be a freed man or not. And unfortunately for Dred Scott, the Supreme Court rules that you can't sue for your freedom because your property, you're not really a person. It would kind of be like your house suing you to be free, or your dog suing you to be free, or your cat or your goldfish. It doesn't make much sense. At least that's kind of what the idea is behind the Supreme Court ruling. This is also going to cause a whole bunch of other stuff. It's basically going to say that the Supreme Court cannot outlaw slavery in any territories. And in a sense, I think I went too far. Yeah, I did. Let's go back. Come on. In a sense, what this does is it outlaws the Missouri Compromise. It pretty much says that people are going to have to choose for themselves. We can't choose for them. They have to make their own decision on whether slavery is legal or not, or whether slavery is wanted or not. We're getting to a stage now where we're seeing that the balance of power is getting messed up. We're seeing that we're making compromises over the issue of slavery, and each side really isn't willing to compromise as much as you think. So we're getting to a point where everything's starting to get to this spot where slavery is going to be a main issue, or it's going to be a triggering issue, and whether we can have slavery or not have slavery, that's going to be the issue. So there's going to be some issues or some problems coming up, and this is what we're going to be talking, and this is what we've been leading up to. Now, slavery is a big deal. It's not going to be the main deal when we start talking about the United States Civil War. I just want you to understand that. So, your videos should work. If they don't, I will send you stuff to search for them, like I have. You can message me. I will be there to message. But just say we're having a problem with the video, and I will get to it. Make sure if that happens to go back and check your assignment, because I will post a new link to it. But I think they should work this time without any issue. Other than that, I don't really think we have too much more to talk about. Monday, you'll be watching something about the election of 1860, and that will be a big trigger as to the start of the Civil War. So we'll get into that rather quickly. Any other issues? Like I said, send me a message. If your parents need to get in touch with me, have them email me. My email. Go onto the school website and you can look it up. But other than that, hope you're all doing well, and let's talk to your friends, make sure they're doing all the work that they can, because I'm starting to see less and less, and that's not a good thing. We still have a lot of time to go, and a big topic in the Civil War to come up starting next week. All right? Peace out, yo.